Okay, we're going to get started. We are just using some air dry clay. So easy. You know, I like to do a lot of projects with air dry clay because it's simple to use and it's easy to find. And you don't need to make the air dry clay too moist, but you do want to hydrate it just a little bit. So my hands are just a little wet. I have some water off to the side just so I can knead this and get a little hydration in here. If it's too wet, it makes it hard to dry. Sometimes when it dries, there are cracks. If it's too dry, then sometimes it's hard to work with. But also I keep this little tiny bowl of water right here so that I can smooth out my fingerprints or any bumps. You can also grab some clay tools, a dowel to flatten it out if you'd like. I'm not going for perfection here today. So everyone's craft will be totally unique and different. Everyone's doing their own thing. So we're doing sort of a sea, ocean theme here. So you can shape it. I was thinking like a star, like a starfish would be so cool. You can do a heart, you can do a square, you can do, if you're really artistic or good at making these kinds of shapes, you can do an anchor. That would be really cool. And if you need help with something like that, you can always print out a template and then use your template. Get like a plastic knife or butter knife that you don't mind getting dirty, and you can cut around your little template that you've printed out. And of course I am working on a surface that won't stick here. And you can use anything that you want to help you shape. I'm going to grab a dowel. So I have this clear clay dowel here. You can use a wooden dowel, whatever you want. Some people get clay tools for these sorts of crafts that we do, especially we've been doing clay crafts together for a little while now. But you don't have to. You can use things from around the house. You can use butter knives and toothpicks and all sorts of things to shape. You really don't need special clay tools. And then you just come up with your shape, whatever it is that you want to do. Smooth this out. This is a really simple craft. You're going to spend more time waiting for this to dry than actually doing your craft. So mine is smaller than the amount of clay that I've given you. I'm just doing like for demo purposes. So here's what I'm saying. You do not need clay tools. I have a plastic utensil that I can use the back end of to shape, or this popsicle stick, whatever it is you want. And then if you want it to be perfect, again, use a template. Use something that you can trace around, like a bowl, or print out something that you can trace, whatever you like. Did you cut off too much? No problem. Put it back. Use some water to bring it back together and try again. And then again, this surface that I'm using, I will be able to easily peel away. So something like a wax paper would be great. A silicone mat, plastic placemat, anything like that. Okay, and then the fun part is just to decorate it. So we are using all seashells and things like that. So here I'm going to put a seashell right in the middle. Press it down. And then I have all of this sea glass in different colors. I have these little glass filler beads. So I've given everybody a combination of things. Some filler beads, some sea glass, a few seashells. So everybody's gotten a little bit of everything. And you just make sure that you press it down into your clay. See, I'm really pressing that in. I'm really letting that kind of sink in. And then so mine is just going to be a shelf sitter. But if you want to hang yours up with something like a twine or a jute rope, instead of see here on the top where I have my little shell, you would actually use a dowel or a toothpick, a pin, what have you, and create a little hole in here. You want to create a hole before it dries, so while we are still in this working state with the clay. Okay, and this is real glass, so just be careful. With the edges, they're not too sharp from what I've seen so far. I've been sticking my hand in a big bin and I've been okay so far, so just be careful with the glass when you open it. Alright, so I like this. I'm going to press all of my pieces down so that they embed nicely. And it's just a cute little beachy, summery shelf sitter as we get ready to welcome the official summer. I know we have the unofficial start to summer, but official summer, meteorological summer, is coming up. So just make sure you press down on everything. And you can see as I'm doing it, some of my edges are cracking, they're splaying a little bit. Don't be afraid to go back in there and clean it up and fix your shape. If you're doing something like a starfish, you can use the tines of your fork to go in and make texture. If you have some sand, I know there are a lot of people who like to collect sand from trips as like a little memory thing. You can put some sand on here too while the clay is wet. I would get your fingertips wet and then get the surface a little more moist than what I have now, and then you can put some sand on there and then push things in around that. But this is it. So this is what I have for right now, and then I'm going to just let this dry. If you have spaces that you don't like, you can, if you want to, we're all adults, you can safely take your glass and break it. I would do that outside in a towel with a hammer, wear eye protection. You can also fill in with little shells. You can do whatever you would like to make this craft your own. I could definitely see some sand in here in all of the cracks, almost like the grout or the mortar that you're going to use. So just have fun with it. And all right, that shell lives there now. Not mad about it. All right. There you go. So I will be back when this finishes drying. If you have leftover clay, you can make something else out of it or just put it away for another day. As long as it's covered, airtight, it will stay. Okay, so as you can see, this is definitely dry now because it is no longer that sort of grayish white shade. It is white, and it is nice and solid. At some point while this was drying, I let it dry overnight, and then I peeled the backing away from the clay. I didn't peel the clay up because then it would absolutely just break and crumble and crack. So I very gently kind of lifted and peeled the backing away. So if you're using wax paper, a silicone mat, a baking mat like this, anything, whatever it is that you're using. And so that I let it dry overnight before I flipped it over, and then I elevated it on actually the lid for the air dry clay so some air could get underneath it. You can just flip it over and just then the back can dry. It can dry more fully. Otherwise it might take 36 hours, 48 hours dry. It is humid. We are in New Jersey, so it is going to take some time to dry. So as you can see, I put some of this nice roping around it, but I will tell you that my roping, I used hot glue just for illustrative purposes so you can see what it looks like, but I will tell you the hot glue does not work with air dry clay. You're going to want to use something like a Gorilla Glue, if you have any kind of a Gorilla Glue epoxy type glue like that, or if you are really into crafts, an E6000. And then I put another little shell right on top just to kind of go with the little rugged ends. I actually might pick these out a little bit more because I like the frayed look. So mine is just a little shelf sitter, like I said before. While it's still wet, if you want, you can put a hole in the top and then make yours into something that you can thread a string or more roping through, and you can hang it up somewhere. It might look really cute hanging in your window. But this is basically all it is. There are so many ways that you can do it. One way that I thought of that I would have loved to have done, but I didn't have the time for it, was if you want to make it into a rectangle so that it's more of a plaque, or you make like a sign, and then you can put a hole in each side and string through, and then you just take, whether it's the end of a plastic utensil, the popsicle stick like I had before, or if you actually have clay tools, which you can get online for so cheap for a whole set, and then you kind of carve out a word, like maybe sun and sand, and you can smush some sand underneath it. Or, you know, you can go the live, laugh, love route if you want, whatever it is. And then when that is totally dry, now that this is totally dry, and you've probably seen I've done a lot of teen crafts with this air dry clay, it's totally dry, you can go ahead and paint it. And so then what I would do is in those recessions where I've carved out a word, you can paint the word, or you can paint around it and leave the word this natural white clay. There are so many options and so many things that you can do. This is just what I've done. It's just a cute little shelf sitter. I love things that are kind of beachy. My bathroom is beachy. We've done so many beach things before. Pre-COVID, we did a lot of beach painting nights, and I have all of those in my bathroom, so this will look really cute on my shelf as well. Like I said, though, I am going to get a stronger epoxy glue and put this right on. Same thing if you have some pieces of your glass or shells. My shells all held really well because they got pushed in, but one of my pieces of glass didn't. And you can see it's just a little too shallow, so you're really going to want to push it in when your clay is wet. But also, you can use that E6000 to give these a good bond. Again, hot glue just does not work with air dry clay. This is one of those instances where I will say it is not the clay of my choice. Okay, so this is one of those projects where I'm just showing you the basics and you can take it away and do whatever your imagination wants. Have fun with it, enjoy, and of course, if you do this project, don't forget to send me pictures because I would love to see what you did. All right, everyone, that's it. We will see you next time.